I don't think.
Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, O'Malley delivers his final State of the State message. So how you doing, Maryland? President Obama, he backs off on the war on drugs, just as Maryland debates decriminalizing pot. And our 21 This Week exclusive interview with candidate for Governor Delegate Heather Mizeur. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by education activist Cynthia Rubenstein, Republican National Committee woman Nicolee Ambrose, former State Senator Jean Roesser, and Democrat Susan Heltemes. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. Democrat Governor Martin O'Malley delivered his seventh and final State of the State message to the General Assembly this past week. As governor, O'Malley has pushed a series of bills that are all but guaranteed to impress Democratic primary and caucus voters on topics ranging from guns, against, gay marriage, for, the death penalty, against, medical marijuana, for, and implementing Dream-like Act policies at Maryland's colleges and universities. Mr. O'Malley has invested heavily in Chesapeake Bay cleanup. He's also provided over record investments in K through 12 education, school construction, and higher education. Baltimore's violent crime rate is lower, and we're nearly a 500,000 people more covered by health insurance than they were in 2007. But O'Malley has also raised taxes, increased the state budget by $2 billion, presided over a scandal at the Baltimore jail, and has had a dubious rollout of the Maryland Health Exchange. As the Baltimore Sun summed up his speech, Mr. O'Malley is effectively inviting us to judge him on his presidential scale. But are his accomplishments here so great that we should turn to him to replicate them on the national scale? Now that's a difficult question. Easier to answer is whether the state is better off now than when Mr. O'Malley gave his first State of the State speech. Cynthia, how would you answer that question?
Well, I'm going to answer two questions. First of all, the state is much better off than it was when he took office. Secondly, he has made a lot of progress with the state. The state has made a lot of progress in a lot of important areas, including those that ticked off, education, health insurance. But I think the more important thing is if he's on the national stage, it's not just the policies that he's accomplished in the state of Maryland, but he has to have some powerful appeal to the electorate, and he's a very laid-back kind of politician, and I don't see that kind of fire coming through in any of the speeches that I've ever heard him give on the national stage. He has to really pop on stage.
He has to lift up his game, is that it?
He has to up his game.
All right, well, Nicolee, how would you describe the past 7 years under Governor O'Malley?
Well, I'm going to turn to my fellow Marylanders here and say that 58% of them were polled saying they do not want him to run for president based on his record in Maryland. But I'm also going to speak as a member of the middle class. I'm asking people, my fellow folks, how do you afford grocery bills with 7 years of an O'Malley administration? $9 billion more in taxes that have been taken from us since 2007. My health insurance premiums went from $475 to $1,300 a month. My water bill, thanks to the rain tax, has increased 120%. My property taxes have doubled. How is there money left for us to buy food for our children, clothes for our children? And I really want every single person here to ask themselves that question. How do you live as a middle-class citizen in this state of Maryland? If you are aspiring to be the middle class, how do you even get there?
So
and how do you buy food?
let me sum that up. You're not real happy with Governor
Disgusted.
O'Malley. Okay, good. Jean Roesser, how would you answer the question? How have things been under the 7 years of Governor O'Malley?
Well, he has accomplished what he set out to do, and that is because he has a 2/3 majority in both the House of Delegates and the Senate. So when he comes down, they're following mostly in lockstep. I feel the same way. I think that Nicolee put it very well, that we are drowning in taxes. And I can say as a middle class citizen that I don't feel better now than I did 4 years ago. And It's just spend, 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 and that he didn't mention. He didn't mention either the transportation, the gasoline tax increase, or any of the increases that he spearheaded.
You mean I didn't mention that?
No, I'm talking about the governor. The governor didn't
All right,
mention it.
Susan, we've heard from two of our fellow Republicans. How do you sum up?
I think we're better off, and I just want to make a correction. Property taxes are local taxes. The governor has nothing.
It's a combination.
So you can't blame that on the governor. But in many
appeal-
ways, we're doing much better. We have replaced all the jobs that were lost. There are more companies owned by women than any place else in the country. We have more PhDs. We have so much going for us than in many other states. And I think that the governor has worked on we have marriage equality, which some people probably don't like, but that's good for us. We do have things that are good, and I can't see anything that is worse. And I might say, Jean, the gas tax. Local people supported that because now we have money that's going to fix our roads and bridges, which aren't.
I don't know if locals supported. By the way,
Montgomery County
I just
supported
want to
it
mention,
full-
have you been over to Virginia lately? The development in Virginia, frankly, in my opinion, makes us look like a backwater state. The economic development is just pouring into Virginia.
Yet Fairfax County is on the watch list by Moody's, and we got a AAA bond
Oh, I wanna
rating.
we gotta
And
go
Maryland stayed AAA.
Nicolee.
So when you are now paying $900 more a month in just health insurance premiums, that's most people's grocery money. If you do not know where you're going to buy your next set of grocery
Why are
bags,
you blaming your health insurance on the governor?
well, it's a combination. He was one of the big supporters of it, and surely our health insurance exchange in Maryland is a disaster, and those rates are set in conjunction with the state. So bad policy, but you can add on to that my gas tax. You can add on to that taxing of the rain, my rain tax. You can add on to that my property taxes. You can add on to that any list of the 75 tax increases we've had.
Yes, but he
How
kept
can I
down-
buy groceries?
But he kept
I don't
down
care
the
about
co-
anything else if I cannot buy groceries.
Well,
that's all that matters.
But he
Can you
kept
feed
down
yourself?
the cost of college education. He's done a lot of good things, and you know, I think it's a bum rap to say it's all taxes.
If you I wanna go to-
Why are you here?
Cynthia, I want to go to Cynthia.
We do pay taxes. I don't think they're onerous. I think that what we get from the taxes have helped make Maryland the #1 state for education. We also have more millionaires in Maryland than in any other state in the union. So I don't.
And
Sus-
number one
no,
in
Susan,
innovation and
Susan.
entrepreneurship.
Innovation
We're going to
and
hard break,
entrepreneurship.
Susan. But I want to just remind all of us, you know, just this past week we heard Governor Cuomo make some outrageous comments that people who disagreed with his political point of view didn't deserve to live in his state. The fact is we have a healthy debate because we have a two-party system, and that's why we're talking about whether or not Governor O'Malley has had a successful tenure or a bad tenure. And as you can see, we've got very strong and different views. When we come back from this short break, we're going to sit down with Tacoma Park Delegate Heather Mizeur, one of several candidates who wants to follow Mr. O'Malley into Annapolis. Stay tuned. And welcome back. 21 this week is honored to have the opportunity to sit down for a brief chat with candidate for governor, State Delegate Heather Mizeur. Welcome, Delegate Mizeur.
Thank you, Casey. Great to be with you.
Well, thank you. You're well known out in Tacoma Park, and this show is seen all over Montgomery County. So tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and why you would ever want to run for governor.
Well, I grew up in a rural community in Illinois. I am the daughter of a United Auto worker who spent 32 years as a welder at Caterpillar. I got my start in politics on the picket lines with him, fighting against unfair labor practices and cutbacks on health care benefits for the family. When I was 9 years old, we spent 6 months on the picket lines trying to live on $45 a week strike pay. I'm also a fifth-generation farming kid. We had corn, soybeans, and wheat growing up, and I have a 34-acre farm on Maryland's eastern shore now as an adult. Some people run for governor because they want the title. I'm running for governor because I want to do the job. I've been a member of the Maryland General Assembly for the last 8 years. Before that, I worked on Capitol Hill for a very long time, was John Kerry's domestic policy director for his Senate office, and worked for other members of Congress as well. And have over the years taken my expertise in a range of policy issues to make a big difference, whether it was expanding health care to the uninsured, more family planning services, environmental protections against unregulated shale gas fracking in the state, marriage equality, death penalty repeal. There's a range of big issues I've been involved in. But to set the agenda and to really make a difference on some of the biggest issues like jobs in the economy, education, and other things I know we'll talk about, required someone to really step up and say, here's my vision for the future of this state. I'm running not because I'm next in line, but because I have the best accomplishments, the best vision for how we help Maryland live up to her full potential.
Well, that's a great way to ask the next question, because the Baltimore Sun, when reviewing Governor O'Malley's recent State of the State speech, said the General Assembly has generally given Governor O'Malley everything he's wanted for the last 7 years. So what hasn't been accomplished that you want to accomplish?
I think that jobs and economic development has to be priority one. I have a 10-point plan that the Baltimore Sun has called the most comprehensive, nuanced economic plan of any candidate for governor of either party. And it comes down to the simple theory that middle-class families should be able to earn more and be taxed less. Under my plan, 90% of families would get a tax relief in exchange for reinstituting the millionaire's tax that was allowed to expire under this administration. We would close some giant corporate tax loopholes that allow a handful of companies not to pay a penny in their corporate taxes, and capture that money, $197 million a year, to give small businesses the tax relief that they deserve. They're the real job creators in our community. Whether it's school construction funding, infrastructure investments, making sure we build the Purple Line, that's another 25,000 jobs right there. Our jobs and economic development plan is very, very detailed, and we lay out exactly what we'd do, how we'd pay for it, and then the other priority is education and eliminating the achievement gap in our schools.
Well, that's a very impressive agenda that you've just enunciated, but you're going to be governor for all the people, and some would say that your agenda is on the liberal side. How would you describe your agenda to those who may not be a natural supporter of you, and why would they want to support you?
I think people, Casey, are ready to move beyond partisan political labels and talking about making progress for our state. When you think about so many of the issues that I'm advocating for, public opinion polls show that they're not out of the mainstream, that there's 80% of our population that supports a minimum wage increase, that supports paid sick leave. 800,000 people in our state can't take a day off when they're sick. Marijuana legalization, also majority support. I actually worked with the head of the Tea Party caucus to push through a family planning expansion in our state because I convinced him that it was good for lowering the abortion rates and for saving the state money and unwanted pregnancy costs, and it improved maternal and child health outcomes. And so we had a win-win-win in doing a policy that gave 35,000 more women access to free family planning services because we decided to reject partisan labels and wanted to make progress for our state.
And I think you're absolutely right. People are very tired of the labels. But I also think that they're also worried about where the economy is going. One of the things we talk about week in and week out is Maryland a business-friendly state? Are we growing businesses here? And isn't there a danger in some of the proposals that you have that are going to be counterproductive? They're going to drive businesses and individuals out of the state.
Absolutely not. I am a progressive, but I am also incredibly pragmatic, and I'm also the only Democratic candidate for governor that has private sector job creation experience. I've owned my own business. I had 9 employees. I know what it's like to meet payroll and provide health insurance for your employees, and every policy I put on the table is balanced with something else. Yes, we want more for our workers in terms of their wages and their leave policies, but we want to close corporate tax loopholes to give benefits to small businesses. And I round all that out with an Office of the Business Advocate. I want Maryland to be known for cutting red tape and having our government agencies exist for Maryland's businesses to succeed. And we have too many overlapping regulations that send a message to too many employers that they shouldn't set up shop here. I was involved on an issue of composting where large industrial composting facilities wouldn't come to our state because we had 3 different agencies telling them how to deal with the compost after they picked it up. We rewrote those rules with private sector input, and now we're going to have 1,400 new composting jobs in this state within the next 3 years. That's how you come together to make Maryland a business-friendly state.
Well, Delegate Mizeur, this has been a wonderful but a very short and brief time. I hope after you win your primary that we sit down and we can go through the issues line by line.
Absolutely.
In an hour-long interview, because I think it's an exciting program that you've offered, and we look forward to hope you do well in the future.
Well, thank you, and I would love it if people would check out our website where they could get all the details of every policy we're proposing at www.heathermizeur.com.
Thank you, Delegate Mizeur. When we come back from this short break, we're going to talk about whether the Maryland General Assembly is going to decriminalize marijuana use. Stay. And welcome back. With the legalization of marijuana last year in Colorado and Washington State, it comes as no surprise that the question of whether to legalize or certainly decriminalize the use of marijuana will be debated in the upcoming session of the General Assembly. This past week, the issue took a very national turn as President Obama, in an interview published in the New York Magazine, is quoted as saying, "I don't think it's any more dangerous than alcohol." But yet there are others who don't offer such a sanguine view of marijuana use, including former Congressman Patrick Kennedy, who says he, the president, is wrong when he says that marijuana use isn't very harmful. Susan, what do you think about the president's comments, and should it be legalized here in Maryland?
Well, I guess we'll see by the end of the session. But one of the things that was not referred to very much by what Obama said, he also said it was a bad habit, a waste of time, and not very healthy. And I know that when President Obama looks at this issue, he's thinking about the kinds of people who get arrested and thrown into jail most of the time, and they tend to be poor, Hispanic, or black. And that is at the crux of a lot of people's reasons for legalizing.
Susan, that's the big lie.
It's the truth. That's who gets arrested.
I get tired of this.
A white kid from Potomac doesn't get arrested. A poor black kid
All right, Susan.
does.
Jean, what do you think?
I have great concerns about legalizing marijuana. It's just a gateway drug and can lead to more serious drugs, and where does it lead ultimately? So I in a way, I think
Was it helpful?
What?
His comments.
No, I don't think they were. I thought they were rather, I think he had to say this because he has smoked it and enjoyed it, and what else could he say?
We've got a short period of time. Nicolee, I want to ask you, as a mother of young children, how difficult is it going to be for you to talk to your children about drug use and for them to come back and say, well, the president said it was okay?
I have huge problems with that. And continuing on Jean's theme of a gateway drug, and then you add on to it that there are many scientific studies on adolescent brain development that say marijuana causes great harm to the developing brain, and all of a sudden if you legalize it, how is it then bad, right? I have great concerns.
All right, Cynthia, you're in the education field, and obviously there's a debate as to whether or not this is harmful for kids' education.
Well, let's just be clear. Alcohol is also harmful if it's abused. Marijuana is harmful if it's abused. They're equal substances. But I hope that the legislature, as they debate and study this, number one, uses science, and number two, at the very least, decriminalizes it. I don't think we're going to get legalization out of the legislature this session, but I do hope it is decriminalized, because that would address the issue of of those people who are thrown into jail and in prison for small amounts of marijuana, and that's just not right.
And then they become hardened criminals.
Right, you go to jail to become a better.
If you're poor and a minority, you get thrown in jail.
Susan,
The facts are there, Casey. It's the truth.
The person who gets busted with a large amount of marijuana is usually thrown in jail because there's enough there for them to sell.
No. In certain neighborhoods, if you're poor and you're a minority, you get arrested with a joint, and that's proven. The facts are there, Casey. You are more likely to. Yes,
a joint.
People get thrown in jail.
They're getting locked up for a single joint.
And it goes on their record.
The problem with decriminalizing marijuana is it's like everything else. It's the camel's nose under the tent.
Wait a minute,
and there will be
guys.
all the more push for legalization.
All right, we got to wrap it up. We'll talk about this as the issue progresses in the General Assembly. Great debate. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned for Parting Shots. And welcome back. Now with Parting Shots, Susan Heltemes.
I hope that very much that the Montgomery County delegates and senators will support legislation that's been introduced to extend the law so that you cannot buy cigarettes until age 21. New York City, it goes into effect in April, and it isn't just Maryland that's looking at it. Colorado, Hawaii, Texas, and Utah are all debating that this year. I think it needs to be spread in over 3 years, but the interesting thing, tobacco usage in Maryland is responsible for the most diseases that are preventable. So I'd say let's push it up to 21.
You can smoke a joint, but you can't smoke a cigarette. That makes all perfect sense in the whole world. Jean Roesser.
There is some good news in the General Assembly. The leaders, Senate President Mike Miller and House Speaker Mike Bush, are supporting raising the estate tax exemption from $1 million to the federal level, which is currently $5.25 million over the next 4 years, with the Senate President saying that Maryland has a reputation that this is not a state to die in. So I do hope that relief in the estate tax passes this session.
And maybe they could do something about the inheritance tax at the same time, since we're the only state other than New Jersey that has both the estate tax and an inheritance tax. Nicolee, sorry for cutting into your time.
Oh, great. No, I just came over from our Republican National Committee winter meeting, and what we were spending a lot of time talking about is women, and I am appealing to women. We women make 80% plus of consumer decisions. We're over 53% of the vote, and it is time for us to call it a day on this healthcare fiasco. We are getting 3 times the premiums that we used to have. We are getting less coverage for more money, and this is endangering our futures. It's taking up the money we need to feed and clothe our children, and it is up to us to stop this and ask for a much better solution.
Thank you, Nicolee. Cynthia, you can
coming back to Montgomery County, the County Council is deliberating this weekend and through Monday on who to select to fill the seat that Valerie Irvin vacated for District 5. 12 people applied, 12 very impressive people applied, and I'm confident the council is going to choose someone who will do an effective and powerful job with them from now through next November.
That was artfully done. You didn't, very diplomatic. You didn't name anyone, did you?
No, but I have a favorite in mind. I'll let you know if I was correct.
All right, panel, I want to thank you. What a great debate we had this evening. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank the viewers for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. And remember, you can like us on Facebook, you can follow us on Twitter, and make sure you catch us Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every time that we're on the air. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.